show that you don't understand what he's saying, because it is better to keep quiet and look stupid than to open your mouth and confirm you're stupid. So I became, today you are in a public arena, and I know that two people have watched the photographs with you and so on, including the ladies. Eh? Well, IBK is announcing before you even hear him that he still has a vacancy here in his other room. So, whatever is the case, and so IBK is announcing a vacancy. Please, you can submit your application to the moderator, where it will be heavily screened. But I'm telling you right now, no matter the vacancy, it is not approved. Because Randy is my daughter. The other guy is Dr. Bala Muhammad. Dr. Bala Muhammad is someone for whom all of us here pay a homage to every single day, whether you realize it or not. The moment you enter KK Napep or Adaidata Sahu, you are paying homage to Bala Muhammad. Because it was his idea. He was the one who created the concept of Adaidata Sahu. Not just the directory, but also the vehicle, the yellow vehicle. He created that particular concept. And so whenever you enter KK Napep, remember that it was Bala Muhammad who made it possible for you to enter. Well, he's an Islamic scholar, so Adaidata Sahu, we are waiting for the next one, which is Ahada Kafada. But Dr. Bala Muhammad, as they said in his resume, is an international scholar. But I think where we are lucky today, we have Dr. Bala Muhammad, excellent orator. We have Professor IBK, excellent writer. So we have the best of the two worlds. Bala Muhammad, being a natural communicator, communicates concepts easily. And he uses local examples and so on. But IBK is a literary philosopher. And nobody understands philosophy. Plato, David Hume, Karl Popper, they are very difficult to understand. So when he talks, people find it very difficult. So I'm begging you, I'm pleading with you, I'm beseeching you. Speak in a simple manner that people like us will understand. Now I have, for both of them, each one of them is over 60 years old. Okay? Each one of them is over 60 years old. And therefore they are not children. We don't have to give them ground rules and so on. But let us understand, let's communicate ground rules so that people in the hall will know that we as elders also have ground rules that we obey. Respectable dialogue only. This is not a debate. It's a dialogue. Try to understand the issues, the critical issues. And I can tell you this, before they even start, I know where each one of them will be going. I know the base of my knowledge of them for over 40 years. I know where they will be heading. And gentlemen, when you are providing your argument, be factual, evidence-based. If possible, cite for us examples of such practices that work or didn't work. Let us not be speculative. Let us not assume. Let us be scientific. And let us work with evidence, evidence-based. And when one is talking, the other should not interrupt him. We don't want it to be like American political debate, where when you are speaking, somebody will come and start saying, no, I don't agree with you, or something like that. It's not a question of, there is no right, there is no wrong. Let us be very clear on this. There is personal preference. That is what you personally prefer, but there is nothing like a right, or there is nothing like a wrong. And we have to adhere to the time. I think they said there's a timekeeper. Where are you? Let us see you so that we know you are around. Timekeeper. Can you climb the bell? So when you hear this, it's not a phone ringing. It is telling you to stop. All right? So, now each side, each one of them will have 20 minutes to present their case. That is their main thesis, their main arguments. And you present your turn very, very clearly, unambiguously, so that people know that IPK says this, that Professor Dr. Bala Muhammad says this. Provide supporting evidence. If you have an evidence of what worked or what didn't work, let us hear it. We are all here to learn. None of us here knows everything. We are all here to learn. I am here to learn because every day you keep learning something new. A frame, why your particular position is very relevant. You create a frame, and that again goes back to evidence. So, timekeeper, let us synchronize. Hello? Let us synchronize. The time now is 11:45. Okay? So, I will start with my right. Okay? Professor Ibrahim Bello-Kano, you are asked to have a dialogue about two contrasting concepts that are part of the world today. Which is better, using a physical paper or reading on a screen? Where is your stand? What will you prefer? Why would you prefer it? What are your reasons? What is your evidence? And would you still hold this view within the next 20 years in the 20 minutes you are given? So here you are, 20 minutes, 11:45.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm happy the Chairman has clarified that we are not in a debate because I don't like the word debate. If you are debating, you have segregated yourself, you have esconded yourself into a rigid position, into a box. So no, I'm here to learn. Let's call this a round table dialogue. I'm willing to learn from Mr. Bala Muhammad from any comment that is made in response to what I say. Let me quickly say that within the minutes that I have, that actually both the book and the screen are important. In fact, the screen now is indispensable in modernity. There's no way you can get rid of the screen. Therefore, I am not here to defend the book against the screen. More, the digital age has brought enormous changes in the way we read, in the way we encounter literature, to the extent that you cannot say that screen or the digital age or digital media have no importance. Indeed, now in the modern world, they define our modernity, our modernity. So I'm not out to this. However, on the other hand, let's look at the book. The book. Now, let me quickly say that it will shock you to hear that two things from me. One, reading is not natural. Reading is not natural. Everyone, if you look at children, everyone had to be forced to read, to not only read, but to handle a book. That is reading, what we say reading. But you see, the book has an old ancient history. That is the invention of writing. Some of the ancient societies, Mesopotamia, Sumeria, ancient India, ancient China, Egypt, those that invented writing began with the alphabet, whether it's written or the phonetic alphabet. It was then that the idea of writing, of using the alphabet to create significance was born. But you should also know that in those, from the beginning, there was fear of writing. Human beings have a natural fear of writing, which extends the natural fear of the written text. At that time, only the priests, what is priest in Hausa? Priests. Yeah, were allowed to read, were allowed to write. And only they could compose things that could be read. The rest of society was shut out from writing. So most people didn't read. They didn't even, reading and writing go together. So it's important to say that. But if you look at the model, the book, reading is not natural. I always know, I still say this. Nobody is born naturally to read. If you look at the history of your religion, God says, Ikra, read. Somebody has to tell you to read. Somebody has to tell you. It may be a higher order. Maybe God telling the prophet to read. That read does not mean reading books. It means reading creation. Looking at our reading creation. The mountains, the rivers, everything in session one. So when in the case of writing, as if you are a parent, your child will not start reading naturally. It will not. Reading has to be taught. You have to be inculcated in writing into the alphabet. So the book itself is not in our modernity a replacement for the screen. In fact, I can tell you that the screen emerged, modern digital media emerged because of the problems of the book. But also, the book now could pose some solution to the problem of digital media and so on. So that's important. It's important to stress this. If you look at the book, when we learn to write, when we learn to read, we hold it in our hands. One philosopher, Roland Barthes, says the book is held in the hand and all held in language. That is, you hold a book, you read it. What you have read also becomes significant, and so the book is also held in language, the significance in cultural mind, in thinking, and so on. But look at the problem of the digital media, audiobooks, generally, smartphones, video games, and so on. Now, before this talk, I spoke with, because the chairman said you must be evidence-based. I spoke with, I had a talk with four, let's say eight. I went to four universities and spoke to the circulation library and the serials. Now I asked them, all of them believe that reading had declined or has declined. No longer do students go looking for books. You know what they are migrated to? They are migrated Chat GPT and DeepSeek. They said there are books, and they gave me one example. There was a book that I recommended for reading at one of the universities. The last time it was borrowed was 2012 when I was newly employed as a visiting professor. Nobody else has borrowed it or read it. If you have a physical book, you can make notations on the edges. It's so natural. Although reading is not natural, you can hold it. You can. It's very rare to have addiction with books, and that's why you have to learn language, whether you are a native speaker or not. That's why you learn Hausa. For example, when I was barely 6 or 5, my father bought me every Sunday. He would buy me Daily Times. I think the paper has disappeared now. Every Sunday, and then he bought me a box of 50 books by Ladybird series on the history of the world, Shaka Zulu, Pocahontas, the history of Islam, the history of Judaism, and so on. That's why I recognize that the written word itself had a larger significance beyond my own reading. And so that's why, although reading is not natural, but holding a book is natural, and it becomes our friend. It doesn't harm us. We don't need any energy source to read a book. You don't need data. You don't need charger or battery and so on. It's so natural, and yes, you don't need. All you need is your own energy, your own intellectual energy, and so on. However, if you look at the remotest areas of the world, you find that the book isn't used there. If you look at, if you know a little bit about the history of the world, there are some of the remotest areas where even taking the book is a problem. Most governments have stopped printing books. Many years ago, when I entered secondary school, in Kano here, every local government had a small library, or what you call library, with a librarian person from Kano. Reading was required. We used to go there to read books. Look at the Kofa Nasarawa children's section. Now all these have declined because government has abandoned the idea of even mobile library. Now it was that virtue that created now with the modern world digital media, TikTok and so on. But look at if you have an Android phone like this, I have mine here. You need energy. You need an energy source. But let's take TikTok. I think between 15 and 30 seconds, you are done. You keep scrolling. maybe the next content has nothing to do with the content you have just left. So it leads to short attention spans. It leads to, so I talked to my friend at AKTH, medical psychology. He says actually addiction is very prevalent in using the digital media. TV addiction, sitting there and so on. I have a son, 8, 10 years now, 11. He was glued on Tom and Jerry cartoon. So a friend of mine in London sent me, on request, he sent me the printed version, long series in a serial form of Tom and Jerry. My son wouldn't read them at all. So I refused to pay the DSTV subscription. I said, Zafa, here, this is Tom and Jerry in color, in paper. He will not read it, he didn't read it. And sometimes he will not eat. So, although the digital media is part of our modernity, no question about it, but there are problems. It's a vacuum, it is filled because of the decline of book culture. So, people are addicted. I had a colleague very close to me. I had to warn her that if you want promotion, you want to be a professor, you want to be a reader, you want to be a senior lecturer, you cannot spend 18 hours a day on TikTok or on YouTube looking at flowers, looking at and so on. And I had a friend who saw his ex-wife, they had divorced, dancing and showing her buttocks and her, yeah. Now, the digital media, let's say TikTok, has that, okay, let me say that. Even the digital media is a cultural technology. It's a cultural, don't be deceived. It's tied up with the idea of culture. Is it Western culture? Somebody has argued, one of my sources say, every human being puts a ring. It's only culture that reins you in, that stops you from doing it. For example, you are dressed like this because of culture. If you go to a place where nobody will, you probably dress in shorts and your breast might be open. So take that into account. Secondly, I think that I have seen people being knocked down by cars who are looking at their phones crossing the road. I think you should know this. As I was coming here, I almost knocked down someone. I was honking and honking. He was on his phone and I had to stop, otherwise I would have crushed him. And this digital media is not innocent. It brings in, for example, look at TikTok. The good thing is that if you look at Chinese TikTok, you can learn measuring, you can learn how to drive, you can learn many things that we do in our vocational schools. But what do you get? What do you get in the TikTok from Northern Nigeria? Dancing girls, abuses, girls turning on and saying things. And if you read the comments, they are banal, BANAL. So let me say that digital media, for the large part, not completely, is shallow. It has shallow content and is only available for people who cannot now have a migrated from the book. There's no evidence that the digital natives, so-called digital natives, are any more intelligent. They will ever be intelligent than Professor Abdalla Uba Adamu, or even myself. Why should I be more educated than my children? It's wrong. I should have children that are more educated, better educated than myself, but no, that will not happen. Why? Because of this digital intrusion. And yes, and cultural sociologists, cultural historians will tell you that every technology has a cultural dimension. So look at it now, people on the addiction on the media. But there is some part of digital media that is a little better. Facebook and WhatsApp. In WhatsApp, there's a great deal of writing, and reading, and replying to text. Although occasionally you see people posting videos. Also, Facebook, there is a dialogic situation where people post this, people respond. That is good. But in TikTok, in YouTube Shorts, there is nothing there but banality. So, however, I am saying that is not a reason to reject it. It's not also a reason to insist that the book has to come back and replace these technologies. No. I introduced a concept of USE. Everything technology that you have is how you use it. Use how you use it. What are you using it for? Even the book. We are the book generation. All of us here, we are the book generation. I learn English not by listening to native speakers, but by reading books. The book introduced me to what you call culture, a high rarefied capacity to read something and reflect it, and think about it and reproduce new knowledge from what you have read. And the book is declining. The book is declining. Ask to talk to any librarian. Also, let me quickly about. I talked to many parents and medical psychologists, addiction. I also talked to an ophthalmologist, eye doctors. They said that you see 8-year, 10-year, 12-year-old kid with eye problems. Refraction, if you look into the light or lighter screens for long, we are not, our eyes are not designed to do that. I have Dr. Ahmed is here, he may corroborate on this. So, for example, I have a cousin who introduced her children early to Kindle, all this media. Now, all our children now will not read books. And I warned her, she didn't listen to me. There was a time when people thought that it's modern, it's education to give your son a Kindle, to buy these electronic sources. The first task of a parent is to learn to read with his or her child. Even the UNICEF in London, she insists that, in fact, have you read with your child? I think this is very well known. So, this is a predicament. That's one predicament. The book has its role, it's declining. And now, digital media has also expanded the possibility of books. If you look at digital media, for example, many libraries in the West have converted their books into electronic sources. Take the e-book. It's very important. But what I can tell you personally is that I have a huge collection of e-books and I never read them. If there's an e-book that I like, I order the hard copy. Or I have 3 printers in my house. I go, I buy toner and paper and print that book. Because I can take the book, physical book, and sit in my garden, sit anywhere, but I cannot take my phone. And let me give you another thing. This is my phone. I hope you will not laugh. Let me tell you what happened. It fell down and broke into 2. So I'm using the band. Look at this book. Another page. I've been told by one of my sources, because the chairman says we should talk about this. A source told me that is okay. If you look at Sweden, early this year, Sweden, the European country, Sweden, right, has changed its policy from teaching with digital media to the all physical books. Go and Google it. Sweden has stopped placing emphasis on digital media but on old-fashioned physical books. Now, my source told me that, but you can never own an Android phone for 5 years without it breaking or even stopping, because there's something called built-in obsolescence. It is designed to stop working and to fall from your hands. A professor told me that if you look at our hands, it's not designed to hold that slim Android, this one. Who here in this hall has not had his phone fall down or stop working, or it will easily stolen? But who will steal this? Will this break? And you can make marginal notes. All my books I've read have marginal notes. So let me sum it all. I want to stick to time.
I have 4 minutes.
Yeah, that's right.
3 minutes. 3 minutes.
So the solution is not to say I prefer the book to the screen or the screen to the book. Our challenge now in this culture, in this society, in this country, is to integrate the two in such a way that we raise our capacity for education, our capacity to understand and interpret what you are called the world around us. So I'm not for books alone because there are many limitations with the book. But I'm not for the screen, digital media, because they have their own limitations. So how do you integrate the two? Is to have a situation in which the book is still relevant and digital media is still relevant. Otherwise, in the next 20, 30 years, this is our historian here, he knows the history of science. There will be a time when, as somebody told me, writing skills are declining. Writing skills are declining. If I have another chance, I will explain. I will quickly tell you, when I was in Delaware for the first time in 1997 for my business scholar program, I found that white students were making mistakes in language, like they were making spelling mistakes. White students, highly educated. So the professor, Mark Amsterdam, said, they are still reading books. To learn a language, to learn religion, you must read the Quran. You cannot go, just look at, let's say you have the Quran on your audio or Kindle or whatever. Is it the same with this beautifully written text, which you have to read with reverence? Right? So, human civilization came on the back of the book. But now, of course, with such civilization cannot come to a stop. So let's integrate the book culture with middle digital culture that are important. If you go on TikTok, please show how Kano is, show the significance of the education, show something, show content that will educate, that will promote significance, not stupid content, shallow content and so on. Do I have any moments to quickly make a point?
Few seconds.
Okay, right.
Few seconds.
Now, in second language learning, I'm from English department. The quickest and fastest and most effective way of learning a language is through the book. Look at TikTok. Look at audiobooks. That is not reading. We have returned to the ear practice. If you listen to TikTok or social media, most of them are based on voice. But the book, you see how it's written. You can detect tone in language. The only way nobody is going to learn English or a second language based on the social media. I doubt it. Thank you very much.
Like I said before they even started, I know where each one of them will be. IBK has spent millions. I think if you can recover the millions, the money you spent on books through David Jowett, what all you purchased, you will have built a mansion by now. I know IBK is old school, and he has demonstrated the power of books. All of you here have phones, and I'm sure you have digital books on the phones. Drop your phone on the floor and see what happens. So we all know that IBK stand, despite he's paying homage to the digital media, IBK is pro books, physical books, right? So right now we know that this is for books, and these are only two items there. They are logic, like you said. Then we know that the other person is for digital media, which will not be surprising because he's a broadcaster, he's a mass communicator, he's a linguist, and therefore he's looking for various ways of communicating his ideas. So, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to thank IBK for providing that powerful, demonstrable argument. Can we clap for him again? Now we go to the other giants, Professor Dr. Bala Muhammad. Like it has been introduced, he's a broadcaster with BBC, he works with World Bank and so on. And he's a father, a grandfather, and a great grandfather. So we would like to say now whether he supports the digital revolution. He cannot support books because we know IBK supports books. So let's see, how would he deconstruct books and construct digital media? And the very word deconstruction was brought into the vocabulary of BUK by IBK through the research of the reader. I mean, before IBK, nobody knew the word deconstruction. But he spent years talking about it. So, Dr. Bala Muhammad, sir, you have 20 minutes to convince us. And you better listen carefully. Yes, sir. And I know you. 20 minutes will stop you, just like we'll stop you. You have 20 minutes to convince us why you think that the digital media is the way to go? Thank you, sir. First and foremost, I accepted to participate in this dialogue because my good friend and ancestral colleague, IBK, accepted to come here. We have been together with IBK and Abdallah for more than 40 years, as I have told you. I may be the tallest of them, but I am the smallest among them. They are my intellectual superiors and my seniors, and I defer to them. I hold them in high respect and in awe, AWE. These two people, Kano is blessed to have IDK and Abdullah. And we thank God that they are alive to guide the other generation that comes here. But not to clarify issues, as IBK and Professor Abdullah have said, this is a dialogue, not a debate. Normally, I would support books over anything in life. But someone has to do the devil's advocate. Someone may be the elected one to be given the unpopular topic. If I were to speak from my heart, I would speak of books. I would support books. So, accurate timekeeper, panel of that impartial panel of judges. When there is a vote at the end of the day, if there is a vote and they say, okay, those who take digital media, raise your hands, and those who take books, wallahi, I will raise my hand for books. Now, this is a fact of life, and that is my fact, and that is my truth. But someone has to defend the digital media. And we are not here to defend the morality and the ethics of the media. If we were to talk of the morality, it is a terrible device. I know. But I will want my thesis, my argument today is that the screen is an extension of the book. Extension of the book. It is not
The medium is the
a
medium.
new device. It is not something that came out of the blues. Why is Adegidan Dabino if you are here? Adegidan Dabino, you can call him the king of books in Kano. He was one of those with Bala Muhammad and others who began the Kano market literature. But today, Adegidan Dabino is the chairman of Motion Picture Producers Association of Nigeria. That means Ado has transitioned without abandonment from books to the digital screen so that he can earn his keep today. The food is in the screen and not in books. That is the reality of life. Now, books are sacred. Most of us will leave our books at home because we respect them, we love them. But companionship means something you will take along everywhere. Now, please, if you have a book, please raise it up.
I will be time. There will be time for Rebuttals. We have a place for Rebuttals.
Please clap for books. Now, if you have a pen, raise it up. Raise it up. If you have two, let me see two. If you have two, those with one line, raise your phone. Line, only one line. Two lines, Realize this is the reality of today.
We have a slot.
Mr. Chairman and moderator, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I am suggesting our colleague in communication, we are very happy, we are very glad. Allah brought Abdullah from science education to mass communication. And he has become our ideologue now, he has become our theorist. I want you, sir, to invent or to develop a watching culture which is an extension of a reading culture. This is what we have today, watching culture. My children all have lively cars. They hate it, they don't like it, they don't want to go there, they don't want to borrow books, but they borrow and read books for a treat. Nobody travels with me unless you promise to write a report when you come back, unless you promise to read, my grandchild is now reading the Five Heroes or something like that in Kaduna. I make sure that they take no digital device but books. But the way we are going now, we have to accept that the revolution that it has come, that we can't do without these digital devices. He has mentioned reading, which is a very good development, that they are going back to books. But the thing is, when there is revolution, usually ba a bari a kwashe daidai. Ba a bari a kwashe daidai. So watching culture should be developed. Now, the importance of the screen, the device, came most especially to the world during Corona. We all had books at home. We all had books at home. And we read books during Corona. But the only thing that kept us alive and that kept us in communication with loved ones was this device. In a situation where you couldn't even go to the neighborhood mosque, you couldn't even interact with close family. At that moment, books will not give you the service you wanted. It is communication based on the digital media that will afford you the opportunity to see and watch and talk to loved ones. The other day I was doing MC just after the president introduced the old national anthem as the new national anthem. I was doing MC for a high-brow event, not in Kano. And the organizers have put in a right or compatriots because people were not used to the old new anthem. And so they printed the old anthem, which by then had become outdated. And it was a high-brow event. We stood for the national anthem. I saw what was there. Where did I go quickly to amend the thing? I went to my screen. I went to my device. I quickly called up the national anthem and I led the audience in singing it. If I had relied on the program, the book, I wouldn't have done that. The solution, most likely, to the problem of reading is when this watching culture is developed and made something that can help us. That is why I've done the most. I am a champion of censorship, not in the sense of fighting and whatever. Censorship is that in China, there are places you can't go. In Thailand, in Egypt, in Saudi Arabia, in very many sensible countries. Recently, some states in America, even though it was for a commercial purpose, they banned TikTok. You all remember this. The modern fare in TikTok is only in modern here in Nigeria and especially in northern Nigeria. We should have a censorship, national censorship regime
to help us moderate our system, for it to be useful to us. Because all these criticisms we are doing, also people in other countries have the same problem. So this is a country where you touch and you bring up something about censorship to say, don't do this on social media, don't do this on the screen, etc., etc. Immediately somebody will stand up and say, you are trampling on freedom of speech and freedom of expression. It is a great lie. Culture and community are higher than the individual's right to free whatever. So we need. So, Mr. Chairman, this is a friendly banter. We have been doing this dialogue with IDK for more than 40 years. Always, whenever IDK accepts to speak or something, somebody will look for me, thinking that I will always be his opponent. Today, I'm with him. So, as I was saying, an item, we always say you can't judge a book by its cover. Similarly, you can't judge a device as green, but by its content. Some people have 500,000 iPhone. I had 500,000. They say that is a million phone.
Yeah, gold plated.
Don't listen. No, 2 million.
Yeah.
That's enough. So, and unfortunately, the agogon suna talatin, da agogon jaka talatin, in wannan ya ba da loto daidai, wannan ya ba da loto daidai, in za a yi kira su sai ka da an ce sunan su duk agogo. So, the screen device is the content of the device. It is the way we guide our children in using that device. And if we can do it individually at home, it is very difficult to collect your daughter and son's phone by 10 p.m. to ensure that they read their books. It is very difficult because they will travel, all will travel, and they have access to it. So, as I said, we cannot talk of the morality because then we will have to re-examine the whole digital situation that we have in the world. But having said that, the device, this screen, while we watch, we actually read. So it is the new book. Though books are important, I am sure. Some scholars say that if a prophet were to appear today, he will come with digital media. And this is right. Because you are sent to a people and you work with their culture and you introduce things to the way they can understand you. Who would have thought there will be a degree without going to class? This is what Abdullah has done in National Open University. Why do you read those books, those curricula for National Open Universities on a digital device? So a digital degree is possible, and as I said, it is an extension of books. The curricula for National Open University, anyone here from now?
No.
Very good, thank you. Yes, yes. Our children must learn to know that screen-based university is a truly fledged, legit university for all our children to take their degrees from, especially if you are working, especially if you have other reasons not to go to class. This screen has created millions of jobs, millions and millions of jobs. You can look at it and what? You can create your own life and your own job out of it. And Ibrahim just talked about Tom and Jerry. Tom and Jerry. Let me see hands of those who like Tom and Jerry. Like Tom and Jerry. And your hands? Well, very, very good. And you are talking of the Tom and Jerry of the screen, not of the book. I've never read the book. I would like to borrow. Very interesting. 1992, I was reminded I did better. In fact, I am very sure by now he doesn't remember. 1992, I visited my humble home and we followed a documentary called War by Other Means, a documentary on debt crisis in the world, especially the debt of Philippines and other countries. Since that time, we knew documentaries are the future of education. And the documentaries put by Abdalla on his YouTube channel, they are very important and they inform the outside world about Hausa culture more than any book would have done. Abdullah, thank you very much for promoting Hausa culture that the whole world knows, and he did that through the digital device. This device this device has mass appeal. It is what we make of it. As I said, and I will repeat, we're not talking about the morality today of it. Most likely will come another time and debate the morality of it. But today, as a utilitarian device, something you can use either for good or for bad, but for good it can be done. When the Kindle started, unfortunately Kindle didn't hold in Nigeria because you can't buy books with Nigerian money. Everyone looks at Nigerians as books and therefore they will send their books to Kindle for you. That's what happens. So most people who bought books on Kindle would say, will buy it abroad and have it returned to them. Who knows Kindle? Kindle, can you please? Kindle. We are so few that have. Kindle is a device, is a screen where books can be read. And you can get all the books of the world transported to you. And that is an essential of the debate. 1978, I was in the School for Arabic Studies, and we had a debate with a very, very advanced quote-unquote school. It's called St. Louis Ladies School, St. Louis St. Thomas, St. Louis. Very beautiful young women, well dressed, well turned out. And they looked at us. We were going from school for Arabic studies. And they looked at us and said, so after that debate, it showed that because we had hours during secondary school, we had hours where we had to go to the library to read books. Now, instead of insisting children will read books throughout, I give them Kindles, which is a device containing the book I want them to read. And I will ask them, go and read this book and give me the answer to the questions that I will ask. That is reading, but it's done in such a way that the child does not feel he is holding something. It is accessible by the digital device. It is convenient. The chairman, it is portable. Portability. Every one of us can carry around the digital device containing all their social media handles and all their communication. But we can only carry a book or two with us wherever we go. That is very important when you come to the talk about accessibility and portability. Then storage. It will surprise you. When computers started, they could only take this little bit of storage, very, very little. And the computers were so big. But today, a simple device, there is a collection of books called 100 great books, from the Quran to the Bible to the Torah, and every book which is considered a great book, they are there on the digital device. So you can read 100 books on your device, and it will be useful. It's there on every device.
Well, that is Dr. Bala Muhammad. Can you clap for him again? Like we made it very clear, this is not a debate. It is not a situation of this is better than that.
Yes.
It's a situation, it's a dialogue which has more advantage than the other. And both of them seem to have supported the two ideas. And I think we would like to welcome the provost of Kano State College of Advanced Studies, who only learned of the dialogue, not the debate, on social media, and quickly rushed. And he quickly rushed. And I told you, the moment you catch IBK and Dr. Bala Muhammad in one place, I'm very, very sure if Abba Gira Gira has known about it, he will also be here because of the importance of this particular critical activity. So I would like to thank you very much again for those really, really powerful arguments. Now, we have a section called rebuttals and counterpoints. Okay? Each one of them will be given 10 minutes to respond directly to what the other person has said. Because in their presentation, there is a slight critique of the other side. So we are going to give each one of them 10 minutes, just 10 minutes, to respond to a critique of this particular stuff. And I will start as usual with my right. Professor IBK, you have heard what Dr. Bala Muhammad said about books and digital media. Clearly, his preference is for the digital media. Clearly. But your preference is for books. You love books. And I know you as a personal friend. You spent thousands and thousands of pounds buying books through David Jones, the late David Jones. Do you still stand that books are better than the digital screen? Because Dr. Bala Muhammad has made a very, very powerful case. He said on his device he can have, more than 100 books and so on. And imagine, I could imagine, you were always going around BUK with a book in your hand. And you infected one of your students, Ismail Bala. And I don't know if Ismail Bala is here, but
He's online.
but Ismail Bala was also going around with books. So, do you still feel that his arguments about the portability, convenience of the book outweigh the eye stress that the children face as a result of being focused too much on one book? You have 10 minutes starting from now.
We don't have, Dr. Bala and I don't have any fundamental disagreement at all if you listen to what he said. We don't have any fundamental disagreement. In the first place, in my presentation, I use the word use. Any technology is also a cultural technology. It evokes or it pushes you even unconsciously into new cultural patterns. In the case of the digital media, individualism, gossip, interest in what others are saying. Yeah, but the book also did that. The book did that because the book promoted solitary reading, individualistic reading in your study, in your bedroom, in your whatever, wherever you happen to be in the classroom. So we don't have any fundamental disagreement. I will tell you that this. However, let me say this, consistent with the theme of the discussion, has the screen killed, the screen killed, has the screen killed, okay, I'm a lecturer, I teach in the classroom, I will project my voice. Has the screen killed a love for reading? Very quickly, reading, whether a book or on digital media, is not an act of love. Reading is not nice. I said this at the beginning. Reading is not natural. Whether I'm reading a book or reading something on WhatsApp, or reading any stuff on the electronic media. Reading is not easy. Reading is not. Reading is not.
A natural.
Say,
It's not natural, particular.
Tura?
No.
So just push it. Okay. So this is what is important. He mentioned something about is what you make of it. Is another meaning of use, USE. Digital media has transformed my work, my professional work as a lecturer. But let me give you quickly, within my 10 minutes. I teach literature. Now, it's very quickly, I did an experiment for this before I came here. I sent oral files to my level 3 students on literary reading. After 2 weeks, I went to the class and asked who listened to that audio. Out of about 103 students, only one person did. Secondly, who teaches literature? Students don't read books now. They go to quick summaries on Spark Notes and other online sources. But I can tell you this. Anyway, I think the Tabarani disagree. You can't learn a foreign language without reading books, physical books. Much digital media is audio, voice, TikTok. The educational material on TikTok about the solar system, astronomy, about health, about diet. But you are listening. You have become an ear. This is what you call the ear. You are now an ear person. Digital media, for the most part, not completely, has taken us back to oral culture, to orality. You cannot write good English. You cannot write even standard Hausa. If all you do is simply listen to the social media, you cannot. Take it from me. Write it down. You have to read books where language dances. You can see the syntax, the semantics, and language. The reason is that, yes, even YouTube, Dr. Bala is right. There's a material from Professor Abdalla Uba Adamu. Yeah, that's about Kano. I agree. I go on YouTube. But if all you do is watch, you are now an audio, you are now an ear and eye presence. How could you also learn about the syntax of a language, the grammar of language, the metaphors, the way in which language evokes significance? This is why I think we agree. How do we integrate the two? I use this word in my first comment. How do we integrate the two responsibly and beautifully? Have the good culture, which created civilization. Civilization was created by the book. And then we have our modernity, which is thrust upon us by changes. How do we do that? So that's the task. I say the chairman should listen to this. How do we get young people to use both as a resource? For example, I think it's excuse my word, I think it's stupid not to benefit from the resources of the book and only go to the digital media. And also it is ridiculous and stupid to also rely on the digital media and not learn from the book. So I'm asking for a dialectical resolution where you benefit from both, from the book culture and from the from you call it watch culture, watching culture. Someone called, I'll project my voice. Someone called, what's his name? I'm trying to look at. Wrote a book called Orality and Literacy, the technologizing of the word. Why he says that if you talk, if you listen to audio, once words are uttered, they go out of existence. They follow the air. But when a book is read, you see what you call grammatology. How language itself creates. Okay, why do you say people should read between the lines? Here's a TikTok about a girl dancing. So if you push it on, you scroll. It's talking about the foundation of the emir of the emirate of Zozo, and then you scroll on. It's about Trump saying that there was genocide in South Africa. The content, yes, cannot be, I agree with Dr. Bala. The content itself should not be used to judge the device. But the book is a device too. The book is the first device. So let me stop talking. How do we, I pose it as a challenge to you, the listeners, how do you benefit from the two resources? The book has not gone. Again, reading is not an act of love. Reading, whether it's a book or is not easy. It requires discipline. It requires habit, train habit, dedication, and the right method was to read a physical book and also to look for sources on digital media. For example, I like Facebook. You see the way there was something posted by M.Y. Kabara, and I read all the comments. Amazing. Take WhatsApp also, we have a reading cycle. We can spend 3 days debating on topics that not a single video. So this is so integration. How do we harmonize the two? This is the channel that future space. This is the channel I pose to you. How do you pose the two? How do you use them responsibly as to enrich your cultural, educational, or let me use a word. How do you gain wisdom by integrating the two? Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you very much. You have given us 2 minutes, and I would like to thank you very much. Like I said, this is a rebuttal part, the part where you disagree with what the other person has said. And I remind that this is not a debate; it's a dialogue where people are trying to explain their own point. There is no right, there is no wrong, there is no winner, there is no loser. But we are all here in order to learn. Now I get back to Dr. Bala Muhammad. You have heard the rebuttal by IBK. You have heard what IBK said about books. The man loves books. He loves it clearly. And he has a very ambivalent attitude towards digital media. And that's why he didn't smash his phone. Maybe he tried to smash his phone. That is why he has a rubber band holding it together. But in the light of issues such as cognitive and educational impact of digital media, where parents tend to be concerned about all this, in the light of accessibility and equity of digital media, of books in the digital media, in the light of health and well-being of your eyes, stresses, and so on, and in the light of social and cultural considerations, do we still accept digital media, digital books? Do we still continue to protect the idea of digital books? Particularly in the light of what he said, we are slowly transforming into a listening people rather than reading. So we prefer to watch and listen to TikTok rather than to pick up a physical book and read. We prefer to get people who like to taran. Tarandin nake nema da Allah, tarandin. Ina son yi tarandin, ina neman ɗaukaka. Ba hauka nake yi, ba tarandin nake yi. So in the light of the distractions that you get when you are on your digital media, instead of reading your novel or whatever it is, but you end up seeing all those useless comedies and so on. Do you still protect?
Well, Mr. Moderator, Mr. Chairman, it is by virtue of the organizers that I must continue to protect my talk, and I must continue to talk about this. My small brother is here, Sunusi from CAS. Now, I just heard on the radio that they have started admission, and they said, go to our website and fill in the form and pay your money. It used to be that you have to go to CAS on Airport Road, look for the admission officer, buy a form, fill it in. Your picture is not colored background, go back to somewhere, get. Today, Sunusi is admitting people through the device. Thank you, Sunusi. Our children, this is the provost of CAS. So if you are looking for IJMD, my brother is going to admit you. But one important thing, which we all agree, is the capability for search and research on devices. Search and research. That you can't do on books. A book is a final product. When the book is written and it is out there, it is very, very difficult to even interact with the author. You cannot go back to say, hey, Mr. Shakespeare, I want to say something about 16th century England. No, but if a book is on the digital media, you have something to say. There is a person here who is our Ahmed Didat in Kano. Ali, stand up, please. This gentleman is doing a lot for us on inter-religious dialogue, and without being crude and without being disagreeable, he's doing a lot for Islam, but he's doing it on the digital media. He has written books. But I have copies of the book. Who else has a copy? But if you want to see Aliyu did that on the digital media, now all of you can find his books and all his debates on the digital media. Thank you very much, Ali, because of the portability and accessibility and the possibility of search and research. The other day I couldn't go to class. I had the same class. Professor Bello the other day had a class of master students. He set up the class, he had his projector, he had his lecture notes, sitting down there waiting. It was Ramadan. None of the students stand up. So he was complaining and crying and lamenting. We were all laughing and saying, these are the students of 21st century. What do we do? Mr. Moderator, sir, what we do is this. If they come to come, you follow them with digital media. Wherever they are, I hold class. I do hold classes, whether I'm in Kano or not in Kano, I hold classes. And interestingly for you, I even take attendance when I'm doing a Zoom class. I know how to do this, and I've devised a way where I will know who attended the class and who did not attend. There is no way I could have done that but for the portability and for the possibility offered by the digital device. And if you don't have a smartphone, you have no excuse. I say, go to the hostel of your friend who has. Let me see the faces of the two of you on one screen. A screen is not for one person. A screen is global. My chicken seller, he has never been to school, but he has a phone, he has a digital device, and he can calculate the price of chicken because there is a calculator on the device, and you can just calculate and give you. Mr. Moderator, sir, this matter of AI, it has a double either or usability. So double-edged swords are all over the social media. And AI is very useful for those who are going to use it for a good purpose. And of course, we as teachers are at the receiving end of so many things that are happening in the GPT world. Students will go and copy somebody else's work and bring it, and they think that we cannot understand, and they think that we do not know that, because the other day a level 3 student turned in an essay. When I read it, I said, this is a PhD essay. I know very well you cannot write that. However intelligent level 3 is, there is some maturity in writing that only someone who has maturity of age and experience can write that. So I told him, my friend, I know where you got this. If I tell the HOD, you will be dismissed. So you better go and sit down and do whatever you are. But the basic thing is that the digital media have given us the possibility of doing search and research to an extent that you can always use as part of your work. During the when His Highness the Emir of Kano, the late Emir of Kano, Bayero, when he was alive, there was a Rangyadi, a tour of villages that we did from 2004 to 2005, 20 years ago. We used to go to villages to establish the branches of Adaidata Sahu, not the motorcycle, but the program. When we went there, we would always do Majigi. Majigi is cinematography. Majigi is the mobile cinema. Many young people of today don't know it. The area when he heard that we were doing it in Dogway Giginya, he was sleeping, he was spending the night at Lilway, that is the capital of Dogway Giginya local government. The area said, how do I come out to watch it? How do I watch this? He wanted to see the ancestral magic, the screen. He wanted to participate. So what do? There was some intelligent gentleman here. Where is Ibrahim? Ibrahim Abdullah, I don't know whether he's still around. They created, oh, he's there. So they created a magic. We didn't even know that magic, when you are projecting on this screen, the back screen is also showing the opposite of what you are showing. So we did the magic in such a way that we put it on the top of the district head's house, and so the area was inside the house, and you could watch it, and we who were outside the house could also watch it. Where else can you get this technology but in screen? The screen is such a wonderful thing, and it is so entertaining. It is so entertaining. Always the screen will give you the entertainment you need. But as we continue, I will not argue against books. As I said, I love books and I love the promoter of books. But nowadays, the digital media is an extension of books, and the watching culture should be a theory that Abdullah will propose, and that we will take it as something. In Europe today, in America, if you have a family outing on a weekend, usually you don't go to the library with your children. You go to the cinema to watch a screen. You go somewhere where you can relax. Nowadays in America, not here, in America, there are mobile cinemas where you can pay and go and watch a screen which is mobile, and you sit in your car and watch that movie. So it is a very, very important thing to know that yes, books are important, and yes, we are in the 21st century, and books will continue to be important forever in our lives. But we have to accept the transition from the literary hard copy media to today's digital media, where the books you can't have, the books you can't buy, the books you can't access, but you can access them via the screen, via the digital device. Recently, two people, very important people, wrote books, autobiographies. One was IBB, Ibrahim Babangida, he wrote his biography, and the other is Sololamido. I was privileged last week to have been the MC of that book presentation. People are asking me, one of them, they just asked me now, where can I get Sololamido's book? I said it is not on digital media yet. But I'm very sure among you somewhere, somehow, somebody is trying hard to hack into the publisher's website to get that book to send it to the people. The chairman said, digital media is here to stay, and what can we do about it?
Now, one of the things that has improved in our lives is that when somebody is presenting or talking, in fact, people looking at their phones. I know that. Well, the best way to know whether you are making a good impression in any conference is look at the audience. You're talking and they are trying to talk about their own words or their own thing or their own fact. And I have noticed at the audiences with that one person was looking at their phone. That what we have is a fully engaged debate and what dialogue, not debate. So now we're getting almost to the end. We still have some time, and we still have one to read. So, but this time I will be an advocate.
Yeah,
And
what?
I will come with IDK. We are now before the exam. Professor IDK. Let me say, I was at the bookshop sometime. Waiting about almost 10 years ago.
USAID, through the American embassy, sent some people to me to look at Kano market literature because they were worried about what was being written in Kano market literature. They wanted to know. And at the same time, NBC, that is the Saudi Broadcasting Corporation, has launched itself in northern Nigeria. There were security implications. And I'm telling you, as a result of that visit from USAID, American Embassy, some few years later, a program was created by the US State Department, and that led to the establishment of Area 124. $6 million was given just for Area 124.
Yes.
And later, just last year, I went to that bookshop that started the whole thing, near Jakara, near Kano Kulmi Market. It was empty, completely empty. Now, I talked to the bookseller, why is your bookshop empty? And he said, nobody is buying books. Nobody is coming to buy them. So I became, as an advocate, at least let's say 80% advocate of books. Given the high cost of production, the high cost of printing, the high cost of distribution, the high cost of recovery, because my dad published a series of books on history of Ghana, and we still have them, hundreds of them unsold. Dr. Halil, the librarian of Bayero University, published his book, A Revolution and Reaction, on the Fulani Jihad in Kano. And we talk about it on Facebook. And somebody said, I need a copy. So we decided to go to Dr. Halil and ask him, because we are sure that book is out of print. Because he wrote the book about almost 30 years ago. Dr. Halil said, I have hundreds of them unsold. They are there, unsold. So given this high cost of production, given the fact that fuel costs alone will have to be integrated in the price of a book, and given the fact that people really don't have the money to buy books, and most importantly, given what I call the Archibalisian culture, are you still advocating for book? You have 5 minutes.
Yeah, thank you, voice. Well, you have money to buy an Android, 200,000. How much is an Android? Please let me know. There is no Android less than 30,000, I think. So if it's an Android phone, it will be 200,000, 300,000, 2 million. But a book selling, the books of command in UK are selling 400, 500. The libraries are still there. The UK, every university is required to have a library, only physical books and digital media. How many? I talked to 4 librarians. 8 librarians from 4 universities say people don't buy our books anymore. So what is happening? If you go to London or any Western city, you get on the bus. The moment the bus starts moving, people bring out pocket books. You know pocket books? So you know, pocket books, they come right to your pocket. They are small. Now I saw people reading the books, even in the digital media. Secondly, just look at, and I asked the chairman, I want you to follow me out. What will happen to your culture? What will happen to your civilization All you have now is an ear. You only listen, you don't read. Or somebody reading to you something through your ears, audio based. You listen to voice. Even WhatsApp is a voice. So what will happen to you in the long run? What will happen to your children if now they are nothing but an ear? Civilization emerged not as an ear, but as a combination of grammatology, cultural skills in literacy, literacy in the old sense. But now you of course, literate in the social media. So this is what I want to press home. I want to take you home. Now you don't read anything, you only listen to something. Would you call yourself an educated person? Educated, refined, like Professor Abdullah, like Dr. Bala Muhammad, like IBK? Let me tell you, I said something. I said something. It hurts me. Listen, it hurts me that I'm more educated than my children. No, it shouldn't be so. By now, I should be less educated than my children. Most of them don't write books. They have this media. Yes, screen has its role in a modern society. I call it our modernity. But I want you to think about this. Ask the library, go to the UK library. There's still a library here. People don't go to books. As the Brahma said, they go to chat GPT. They go to DeepSeek. They go to all these online sources. Even when you want to read. But suppose you only listen to audio stuff, audio, screens with audio. Now, secondly, you're always on the screen. Ask any ophthalmologist, any eye doctor, you lose your eye before your activity. I have a book which says if you start listening to, if you are putting earphones before you are 30, by the time you are 50, your hearing will decline. So there are medical issues. I didn't emphasize on it. If you sit too long listening to social media, you will have diabetes. You will have high blood pressure. Every medical science says we should be active. But if you also sit reading a book all day, you will have the same effect. But there is something to gain from reading a book. You see how language works. You don't see, you may hear how language works, but you cannot imitate it. You want to be de-educated, you want to be de-educated, you want to be unsophisticated, you are not a culturalist, a different guy. Just people are listening to all your books, all your stuff. You have to read books. Your eyes have to work on books. Although, I agree with Dr. Bala, there's no question of getting rid of the screen. The screen is important. I concede this. It is important. I use it. And I keep telling my close relatives, you want to be a professor, Bala, you have to write books. Problem, Bala. How can you be a professor? You must write. You must do discourse. You must write literature, written literature. But if you are heavily dependent on oral stuff, you will not do that.
It is very clear to us that they are summing up, because this is summation. We are getting to the whole explanation and at the same time summarizing your basic argument. Because we don't want to get into a situation where we're repeating the same thing over and over and over again. People get tired and they get bored. So my final cross examination to you, Dr. Bala, you talk about digital media. You talk about books in a device. You talk about how convenient it is and the number of books your device can take. I raise two issues. All those books you talk about in your digital devices cost a lot of money. They cost a lot of money.
They do.
The same way that the books he is advocating for also cost a lot of money. People have to buy the books.
Yes.
Buying the books. Right now, I have a book coming out in July called Hausa Cinema of Northern Nigeria. The book cost 250,000 naira.
To publish.
No, to buy
per copy.
Yeah, per copy.
250,000.
Yeah, it's $130. The book costs 130. Even I can't afford it.
Oh,
Even I can't afford it.
yo,
It's expensive.
very, very.
So if Professor IBK wants that book, he has to buy it. You have to buy it. But in your arguments, never know. It's okay. In your arguments, you are advocating for many of these books. They're there. Your advocacy is what we call, what I created called Archibalisian.
Achievabilis.
Archibalist. So you are an advocate of archibalization. Because all those books that you're talking about cost money. I am a writer. I spent 10 years writing a book. And then the next thing you know, this book is archibalistically available all over the place. Similarly, when launched the book, I was there last week. And the question people were asking was, is there an archibalistic copy? They're not talking about an electronic copy that they can buy. So my question to you and your submission is, what are the ethics of getting all these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books that you don't pay for, but they are in your digital devices? What is the ethic? How do you compensate ethically and morally to the publishers, to the writers who spent a lot of time, a lot of energy writing books, and yet here in your device you have books that cost over 1 million naira.
Exactly.
Are you comfortable advocating for people to continue using books that they don't buy, or what?
And foremost, please, let me tell you, Professor Abdallah, before he invents the theory of watching culture, has already created Archibalist culture. Archibalisian culture is where somebody will get free something without paying for it, but legally. I agree with your advocacy that many people are reading things which some people sweated and spent money to produce, but they are reading it for free. The solution is this, sir. The solution is the UNESCO Commons. There is a policy of UNESCO which is about being commons, i.e., education and literature and knowledge should be made very, very cheap, even though Abdullah's book is 250,000 on the shelf to buy. Someone, let's say Ali Dangote, let's say Bala Muhammad II, let's say Bua, let's say Kano State Minister of Education, let's say CAS, let's say someone with something to subsidize that book to the tune of 240,000 naira, so that the student of the book, the student who needs to read the book, can get it for 10,000 naira. That is articulate, but legit and legal, and that will help us to distribute education. When we say commons, what we mean by commons, UNESCO said every book written should be accessible to the people for whom it was written, not minding the cost that comes with it. Somebody should subsidize, somebody, somewhere should subsidize books for people to buy. And the best subsidy today is the e-copy, is the digital copy, which you can find on your device. Mr. Moderator, sir, when that book comes, we will have to do something about this archibalist culture. We will have to get people to be able to communalize that book and make it accessible to us without jeopardizing the money spent to produce the book, which I know you can ill afford to let go. We understand, sir, that you have support also of many universities in the world who will sponsor, who will help to publish those books. But ask them, please, if you publish something on Penguin or Heinemann or something, tell them, please, that we would like to publish another copy on the Gidan Dalilo book. So that Gidan Dalilo will publish it for a lesser price and put it on our devices so that we can be able to get it as matter of commerce. It is very, very important to do that. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Moderator, sir, finally let me say this. This morning I wanted to come out and I wanted to know the weather. What is the weather today? Yesterday it was 42. May Allah ba mu sauki, Allah ba mu wucewa lafiya, subhanallah. So I had to know about the weather before I came out, so that I will know what to face. Where did I look? I looked at my device. Today it is 41. I can't get that in any book. So please and please, this is the future of the life. Let me see those who made presentations, the 7 of them. Abba, stand up. Aisha, where are you? Aisha Jinjiri, Aisha, Indama, stand up, all of you. When they came here to present, where are they? Stand up. Here, Aisha is here. Yes, you are here. All of them, when they came here, I saw none of them with paper. They all presented on this digital drive. This is something which there is nothing we can do. It has come. But we have to guide our young ones how best to use this device, how best to use the education. Exactly it is. We are together, sir. We are together. How do we guide our young ones to use this as a conveyor of knowledge and not as a conveyor of iskanchen TikTok? Finally, Mr. Moderator, finally, let me show this. Let me show this. When I started Adaidata Sahu, we were fighting with so many people about the books writers were writing. So I made a formula. I said any house book written by a house boy or girl, the censorship principle is this. If you write a book, if you are a girl, go and read to your father from cover to cover. If you can do that, the book is good. If you are a boy, go and read to your mother from cover to cover. And if you can do that, the book is good. None of them could do that. And I said, this censorship, self-censorship we cannot do it. We have to rise up. We have to control the narrative of the book writers as well as the TikTokers. What the TikTokers are doing, they are showing they are illiterate because they can't write a book. So they go to TikTok to do iskanci. If you don't have ideas, you become a user. Please and please, we have to prepare for grammar.
We have come to the end of the dialogue by the two giants. And we are now moving to the final stages. And I like this idea of Iskanchi culture. So we have reading culture, we have viewing culture, we have Iskanchi culture, which is on TikTok, where you have Maria Munya, Hassan Makeup, and all the other. Read Yanlemo, what is it, the Bakinkis? They use and my mentee give break alami coming material. So we have all those cultures. Now we are moving to the final stage. The final stage is the audience. We are giving the audience 5 minutes. We are giving the audience 5 minutes.
Each
For each.
Okay.
5 minutes for each. So that means like 1 minute per audience. You talk, he responds 1 minute. So 5 people for IBK. And then 5 people for Dr. Bala Muhammad, which means you have just 2 seconds to ask your question. Ask your question. Don't raise the point, but ask the question. Something that you need to clarify. Don't say, hey, I agree with you, but no, just ask the question. 30 seconds. If you get another point, we ring the bell.
Yes.
And in each of the categories, we must have women and men.
Yes.
And I have decided, because I know the women prefer the digital culture. So, 3 ladies for IBT.
Yes.
And maybe one of them will fill in that vacancy. So out of the five members of the audience that we will allow, 3 women and 2 men will be for Professor IBK on book and the promotion of book. Out of the 5 members of the audience that we have for Dr. Bala Muhammad, 3 men will be for him, and then 2 women.
MashaAllah.
And like I said, I put in more women with IBK because he said he has a vacancy.
Yeah.
So if you are interested in submitting your application, this is your opportunity to be articulate.
Because
remember, his house is an intellectual house. One of his wives is a professor herself. So he's a professor, his wife is a professor. And so if you want to come in, you have to make sure that you are articulate.
So, minimum qualification WAEC? Minimum qualification WAEC?
Minimum qualification, no, not minimum. If you are coming into IBK's house, the minimum qualification is first class or second class upper division in linguistics. So, what we will do is that the audience will ask the questions one by one, and then they will note them.
That's the best.
So, someone will have to pick. Ai ba a zo ba tukunna. Application ne kika